Oh, this should be interesting. This should be very interesting. Check this out. I've been asking this question.
The Thunderbolts is the next movie coming from Marvel Studios, about to hit theaters next month. And you've probably seen the recent trailers for this movie where they show Sentry basically as a god. In fact, he literally refers to himself as a god in the most recent trailer. And that trailer is actually called Thunderbolts Invincible Trailer. In this trailer, Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, who we're pretty sure made Sentry at this point, says, "Witness the Invincible, stronger than all of the Avengers rolled into one, and soon to be known as Earth's mightiest hero." Talking about Sentry, of course. And then Sentry says, "Why would a god listen to anybody?" And we see the depth of his powers, which has everybody asking the big question, how exactly are the Thunderbolts, or even...
Oh, what we actually only see is him getting rid of people, correct? No, there was like an explosion or something, right? Like a... I can't remember. I have to see it again.
Even really anyone, including Doctor Doom, who is the upcoming big bad of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, going to defeat Sentry? Well, the short answer is you can't. Not at least physically. When it comes to the Thunderbolts, who kind of have...
See, and that's what I've been saying this whole time. How are they going to defeat him? They're going to have to do something mentally. You know, this team, they're going to have to do something mental. Talk him down. You know what I mean? Maybe magic, maybe mind control. I'm sure he's so strong that he's probably not susceptible to certain levels of mind control.
Powers, a few of them have super soldier serums, some of them can phase in and out, and some of them are just plain normal human beings. They don't really stand a chance against an entity who can essentially turn people into shadows. Plus, on top of that, he's got a lot of other powers like telekinesis and telepathy, molecular kinesis, biokinesis, plus his super soldier serum that he was given, the Golden Century Serum, is supposed to be 100,000 times stronger than the serum that Steve Rogers got, basically making him, yes, invincible. So how do the Thunderbolts end up
Did they ever do a storyline where Cap got his hands on that? That'd be cool to see him go toe-to-toe with Sentry with the shield. Tearing people's heads off at that.
Defeating him in the Thunderbolts film, because it's already been confirmed that Sentry and the entire Thunderbolts team except for Taskmaster are confirmed to be in Avengers Doomsday. Marvel revealed everybody's names except for Olga Kurylenko, who plays Taskmaster, in their Avengers Doomsday chair video. So everybody makes it out except for Taskmaster.
And everybody's like, yeah, they must kill Taskmaster off. They already gave us a spoiler.
But Sentry does, so he clearly doesn't die in this movie, which is great because Sentry is a hero. The true villain of this is, well, 1, the Void, but 2, Valentina Allegra de Fontaine. And ultimately, it will come down to defeating the Void and Val in the Thunderbolts to get Sentry to be good. And I think it all actually comes down to Valentina's assistant. This woman right here. She actually might be the key to it all, but we'll get to her in a bit. In order to understand how the Thunderbolts will defeat Sentry, there are a few things that you have to know. And one comes from the footage that we saw at CinemaCon. In the footage that we saw at CinemaCon, we learned that Bucky lasts half a term as a congressman, and we learned this from Val, actually. She is seemingly making fun of him for only lasting half a term, and she is telling him this in the old Avengers Tower that she has bought. This is important to know because it involves what Valentina Allegra de Fontaine wants. It's about her wanting power. She goes to the government and says the Avengers aren't there to keep people safe, and she tries to scare them, in which she seemingly does. She states that the threats are still very real, though, and she presents a superhero who has the power of all of the other Avengers who are no longer there combined. And she's stating as a fact that the people still need saving. This all comes down to Valentina being the one to control the superhero who saves everybody. That way she holds all the cards. She holds all the power. You want Sentry to save you or the city or do something specifically for you or maybe work for the government to try to help with some type of war? Sure, I'll help you, but you have to do things for me as well. Valentina creates Sentry as her ultimate weapon that she can control, thus making her the most powerful person in the world. However, there's a slight issue. the Void. The Void takes over Sentry and chooses to not obey, and that makes sense because why would a god obey a human? And I believe that the Void comes out because of a specific serum that Valentina is going to try and use to control Sentry. We know that this film is going to clearly explore the idea behind serums, as Red Guardian, Bucky, and John Walker all have different serums. In some of the trailers, Red Guardian even asks Bucky what type of serum he has, and Bucky replies with, the normal one. Hydra. And Red Guardian is impressed, and he calls it fancy because his version, the Russian version, the knockoff version, is not on the same level. That's why he's out of shape. But Bucky, and Steve Rogers for that matter as well, no matter what they did, they could not get out of shape because they burn just thousands upon thousands of calories every day due to the serum. They also can't get drunk because of that. But like I mentioned, Bob, who is Robert Reynolds in the comics, aka...
See, I didn't know that. I didn't know that they couldn't get drunk. I knew the Wolverine's healing factor keeps him from getting drunk. That's why he smokes. He just heals so fast. Interesting.
Sentry, he becomes Sentry by taking the Golden Century Serum, which was an experiment on Steve Rogers' original serum, but 100,000 times stronger. The serum gives him the power of 1,000,000 exploding suns, and he has virtually limitless power. So he's quite literally impossible to defeat physically, and in the comics, in order to get rid of the Void, they actually have to erase the memory of Robert Reynolds. But they're not going to go that route in the movie, since Marvel confirmed he's going to be in Avengers Doomsday. So the way that they have to defeat Sentry is by appealing to the good side of him, essentially appealing to Sentry and not the Void, because that is something that you have to understand. Sentry isn't bad. Robert Reynolds himself isn't bad. The Void is. And I think Valentina makes a type of serum that is meant for controlling Sentry, and this inadvertently brings out the Void. So when the Void takes over, the Thunderbolts are going to have to appeal to Sentry. But they won't really know this at first. Instead, they'll just think that Bob turned into essentially a god, and since he's basically a god now, he's not choosing to listen to anybody. They'll go up against him and they'll lose, and we've seen in the trailers them talk about how there's no way they can beat him, and on the surface, yes, there is no way they could defeat somebody that powerful. But that is where Valentina's assistant comes into play. In the Invincible trailer, we hear Valentina's assistant call somebody and say, Sentry has gone off the rails, and he's dangerous. The Avengers are gone, no one's coming to save us. Here, I think she's calling Bucky, and there, I think she's going to be able to give him and the Thunderbolts enough information about what they did to Sentry with all of the serums that help them realize that Sentry himself is good, and the Void is bad. So they'll appeal to him as friends, and this is actually kind of proven. You see, if you look very closely in some of the trailer scenes, you can see that the Thunderbolts throughout the movie are going to be helping and looking after Bob, aka Sentry. In the CinemaCon footage, Valentina confirms that in the beginning, in the opening scene of the first trailer that we got, Valentina sends all of these different members to essentially kill each other. She confirms she tried to do that. Bob is there as well, and I don't think she was trying to kill him. I think she pretty much knows he's invincible. But I think they were perhaps trying to test Bob's powers. However, we do know that they all managed to escape. And they do escape with Bob. They meet him and they protect him. They help him escape and they take him with them. And in some other trailer scenes, you can see them kind of just out with Bob, probably before they run into Valentina again, and she activates something within him that puts him under her control. But you can see Bucky is actually protecting Bob in one of these scenes.
Reminds me
as
of
this man in the chicken costume goes up to hit Sentry with a sign. Bob gets all scared, but Winter Soldier Bucky gets in the way and punches him in the face. So the Thunderbolts are taking care of Bob. They're going to establish an emotional connection with him, and that's how ultimately they'll be able to save him. But in order to do so, they have to take on really kind of the true villain, which is Val, the one who is trying to control him, bringing the Void out. So essentially, the power of friendship is how they're going to defeat the Void, which will then cause Sentry himself to fight the Void, and with the help of the Thunderbolts, he'll come out on top. And there's even a scene that we have seen in the trailer.
They have scenes where, like, people will be like, their bad half is taken over, and the bad half hurts someone they care about, and the good half inside starts fighting to come out. No. I'm so sorry.
Trailers where Yelena actually is seen walking into the Void and the rest of the Thunderbolts team follows her. This is most likely because they're trying to go in and communicate with Sentry. They'll tell him that he doesn't have to be a villain, that he's stronger than the Void and he can overpower the Void, which essentially is going to be what happens. But then, you have to make sure Valentina doesn't come back into the equation. You gotta make it to where Valentina doesn't return so she doesn't really activate the Void again. Although, I do feel like the Void might actually come back in Avengers Doomsday. As I mentioned, the Void is so powerful, people are asking, well, how would even Doom go up against him? Well, keep in mind that Victor Von Doom, although not as smart as Reed Richards, is still one of the smartest people in Marvel history. He is still a genius. And on top of that, he is one of the most powerful sorcerers in Marvel history as well. In fact, at one point he becomes the Sorcerer Supreme. And on top of that, I'm pretty sure he's going to have TVA tech or Kang tech, which are really one and the same thing, in Avengers Doomsday. And at this point in time, the Sentry and the Void is kind of a liability. So if the Sentry goes up against Dr. Doom, he'll probably have a way to let the Void out. This is kind of similar to what the Scarlet Witch did to the Avengers in Avengers Age of Ultron, where she got in their minds. So if the Void is still there, Dr. Doom will exploit that and use it against the Thunderbolts and everybody else for that matter. But if the Void is going to be truly gone, and he's not going to be a presence in Avengers Doomsday, then Doom's sorcery could most likely handle the Sentry. On top of that, he is going to have time travel technology. So much like we saw He Who Remains do in Loki Season 1 at the end, where he knew every single move of Loki and Sylvie, that could be something you're looking at as well, where Dr. Doom simply knows everything that Sentry would do to him. He could freeze time and go backwards and see how it all plays out. So I don't think Doom is going to have much of a problem with him. However, Sentry and the Void are going to be a big problem to the Thunderbolts until they rely on the power of friendship, and then that is essentially how they defeat the Void. And let's be honest, there's not really another way because power-wise, they don't stand a chance against him. But it is going to be fun seeing them try to go up against him and fail. This movie is one that I am personally insanely excited for, so go ahead and let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Are you excited? Are you not?
I don't even know how they're going to attempt to go up against him. It's like a child trying to fight an adult. Not even that. You know what I mean? Like a super adult. You know, it's just swatting a fly, swatting a gnat. You know, it's just... Anyway, just as I thought, they're going to have to get it in his head. Magic. Something. 10 million subscribers.